Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of The Routing Loop, live here on Twitch. And I think we're also live on YouTube. So, depending on what your favorite platform of streaming is for today, join us for a deep dive into all things network observability. Now, for all of you who don't know who I am, my name is Alex. I'm a principal networking specialist, solutions architect with AWS. Been here for a bit over 5 years now. Been in networking for way longer than that, way longer than I can remember, actually. Really excited to be hosting this show for all of the folks out there who are passionate about networking and content delivery, especially on AWS. I'm joined today by Victor. And Victor, I will give you the mic in a second to introduce yourself. Before we go that way, I see already folks having joined us in the chat. Please say hi. We are monitoring here the chat. If you folks have questions, if you have comments, please put them down there, and we're going to use them as a guide for our session today. I mentioned we're going to be talking about network monitoring and observability on AWS today, specifically about VPC Flow Logs and AWS Network Firewall. And to guide us through that journey, we have Victor. Victor, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you, Alex. So I'm Victor. I am also a specialist solutions architect focused on networking. Been at AWS for a while now in multiple different roles, but now I'm focused on networking, and I'm glad to be on the session today. Thanks for having me, Alex.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining. I need your help because I'm honest. I do need a bit of guidance navigating what tools we need to use for what. And I think you're gonna help us do that today and make sure we clarify that, not just for my sake, but also for everyone's sake. We see here already folks who are long-standing followers of this show, I would say. Hi, Jordan. Good to see you. Hey, Pratik. Hey, Daryl. Let us know where you're joining from. Yes, absolutely. I see here Danny is joining us. Our Danny IR is joining us from Ontario, Canada. I am today in San Jose, actually East Palo Alto, if I'm very specific and accurate. I usually live in San Francisco, but today I'm down here at our offices for some in-person meetings and whiteboarding, which is really exciting. No more or not as much virtual whiteboarding as we used to do in COVID. Victor, where are you based?
So I'm actually based in DC, the nation's capital. Cool. I'm currently out of our offices in Virginia, which is like right next to DC, just across the water.
Awesome. Yeah. How's the weather like there, actually?
It's pretty great around this time of the year.
I am very jealous.
In California, isn't the weather always great over there?
Well, that's what they say, but it depends very much on where in California you are. If you're downtown San Francisco, it's probably, I think there's a quote attributed to one of the big writers that says that the warmest winter I've ever experienced was summer in San Francisco. So it's always very foggy. I think that was the quote. Folks, please correct me if I'm wrong. Put it down there in the chat. It's foggy. It's pretty cold. It's wet. Now we're actually getting slowly September, October. It's going to be our summer. So that's when things are going to get a bit better. I see people joining us from all over the world. So we see folks from Amsterdam. We have folks from Nigeria, Mumbai, India. Again, folks from Quebec. I see a lot of folks joining us from Quebec. Good to see you, folks. Hope summer is treating you all well, and it's warm and nice. We have folks from Guatemala. Thank you for joining us. This is amazing. Cool stuff. Awesome. So today we are talking about network observability dashboards for VPC Flow Logs and Network Firewall. Now, you might, if you're new to the show, you might be wondering, well, how about this topic? How did we get here? If you haven't seen our previous show, last week. You folks should go watch that. We're going to paste the link in the chat. That's where we started our network monitoring and observability series. And Jamie and Matt Lewis, who are two of my co-hosts on this show, had Vishwas invited, and they dove a bit deeper into the network observability toolset that you have available in Amazon CloudWatch. So network flow monitor, infrastructure performance, internet monitor, and network synthetic monitor. Now, it's important for you folks to kind of have a mental mindset and framework around those tools and what they do. So I would highly, highly recommend you folks get the chat, the link in the chat, and have a look at the episode last week. That said, the right quote is, "The coldest winter I've ever spent was a summer in San Francisco." Might be. Thank you for that. Totally possible. It is. It's definitely possible. Now, our focus for today is shifting a bit from the CloudWatch network observability tools that are essentially reliant on metrics and telemetry that you get in CloudWatch to Flow Logs. And Victor is gonna help us through that. So I think we're gonna start with a bit of framing of our topic, and Victor, you're gonna take us on this journey. So go for it.
Okay, thanks, Alex. So I'm gonna be talking about observability dashboards that you can leverage to improve your visibility of your network. And like Alex said, we're going to be focusing on network firewall and VPC. All of our services typically emit some kind of telemetry or logging that you can analyze and visualize. But for the scope of today, we're just focusing on this two. Here's a popular quote from our CTO. Everything fails all the time. And that is true. That is true even of the best designed, resilient networks. No matter how well you design and build stuff, there's always a likelihood that something goes wrong, someone makes a mistake, or an AI tool makes a mistake, and now you have to figure out what's wrong. So really, really important for you to have some observability. It's an integral part of every network operations team. And just like I said, the fact that we have all those logs and all those metrics being emitted from our different services, you want to be able to not just collect them, but also be able to analyze them, correlate them, to be able to find insights into what's happening within your infrastructure. And that helps you to be able to, detect issues, find out what the root causes are, and to also take remedial actions to fix them when those issues occur.
I think here's one of the most interesting areas that I see folks kind of trying to navigate and not necessarily knowing exactly where to start. There's this mindset of, I want to have a single pane of glass dashboard that shows me all things and I have visibility into all things. If we work a bit backwards from that, I think the important part is that in an environment that operates at scale, so imagine that you don't have just like 3 workloads that you can actually look at their dashboard and make sense of those logs by just visualizing that information. The more important part about it is, how do you take those logs and how do you feed them into systems that are able to show you the anomalies and to show you where you should actually look at scale. So I think this is the part that I'm most excited about these dashboards, by the way, and can't wait to get into that. But before we get into that, typical customer network, totally exactly aligned with what I was about to ask everyone. Let us know in the chat. do you folks use Flow Logs today? Are you familiar with VPC Flow Logs? Are you familiar with any of the tools that we've talked about in last week's Twitch stream? If yes, let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like about them. And if no, also let us know, and we can pop in some links into the chat to help you folks reason around these tools.
Yeah. So just to go from your point, Alex, about how, this idea of having a single pane of glass or a few of them to visualize what's going on in your infrastructure. Customers typically have networks that, have so many components. They have a lot of things going on. They have different VPCs in different regions. They have transit gateways interconnecting these VPCs in different regions. They have services like network firewall, shield. They have direct connects to the data centers, VPN endpoints, CloudWatch, Lattice, CloudFront, 553, Accelerator. So many components that emit all this telemetry data. So having dashboards that gives you visibility can help a lot to make things simpler.
Definitely. And this seems like a fairly complex network setup, and to kind of reason through all of these things can become cumbersome if you don't have the right tools enabled. There's a comment here in the chat that I really like about Flow Logs. It's one of those things that you don't need until you do. This is my answer when people suggest disabling them. Totally. Ideally, until things fail or unless things fail, you don't need them, right? We're going to talk a bit about what Flow Logs are and what they help you do. But you wouldn't be going and just looking at Flow Logs as part of your daily job, right? It's no one gets paid to do that, literally. But you do need them when you try to troubleshoot something, when you try to reason about what flows are going through your network, when you're trying to figure out what talks to what and why and on what ports and what protocols. So let's dive into that, Victor.
Yeah. So before we do that, I wanted to just show like a lay of the land of how to think about the observability tools that you have in your toolbox. So generally, like we said earlier, you have all this telemetry data that you need, that you want to gather. All of that stuff needs to be stored. And I guess that's where Puria's comment about Flow Logs being expensive comes from, because you have to pay for the storage costs for some of this telemetry data, like the logs. And then you want to be able to analyze and visualize them with dashboards, which we're going to show today, and also take remedial actions. And there's a bunch of these telemetry sources that you can have, CloudWatch network monitoring, which we covered last week, VPC Flow Logs, all the different services that emit logs.
Yeah.
EC2 emits a bunch of metrics, and those metrics typically would go to CloudWatch. You typically, for most of our metrics, you don't need to enable anything. Like, all services have metrics that comes out of the box by default. And then you have logs that you'll be storing either on CloudWatch logs or on S3, or you could use Amazon Data Firehose to stream those logs to other partner solutions if you have those kind of tools.
That is one note there. I think a lot of folks do like to have their customized visualization tools and sort of build their dashboards with telemetry information from many more sources than what you have there on from networking and infrastructure perspective. So that type of correlation is important. So you may choose to just export those logs and metrics and telemetry data to your preferred partner solution. Yeah. In addition to that, to the point made earlier that at scale Flow Logs can get very expensive, I think there's an interesting point to be made. Exactly as with metrics, probably observability platforms are some of the most expensive things that you can invest in if you choose to export everything and to capture everything, right? And here's where I think the important part comes into deciding what type of data do I want to export and what type of logs do I want to export and where do I want to export them? Where does it make sense in order to get answers to those questions? Like, as we get to the analysis part, right, and the visualization part, just having metrics from anywhere and about everything is not necessarily what is going to get you answers to the questions that you're trying to get answers to.
Yeah, and just to add to your point, Alex, there are ways to manage the costs for these logs to keep your cost under control. So a very popular approach that a lot of customers tend to do is if they are sending their logs to S3 for long-term storage, and they would typically have things like lifecycle rules that could transition the logs from the standard storage class to less expensive storage classes, or to Glacier, which is pretty cheap for you to store them there. So, and that's just one approach that a lot of customers take. So there are ways to manage your costs for these logs if you choose to store them for the long term.
Excellent. Awesome. Love that.
Okay, and analysis and visualization. I'm going to touch on a few things here, but we have things like metric filters for you to generate metrics from your logs, contributor insights, logs insights, Athena, which you can use to query those logs. And then if you want to have dashboards, we have things like, CloudWatch dashboards, OpenSearch, Grafana, that you can use on AWS. Also, if you have partner solutions, you can build your visuals on those tools as well. And then if you want to take automatic actions, you can remediate them with tools like Lambda and Co. And then diagnostic tools, we have a bunch of them if you're trying to figure out what's going on. I think we're going to have a few sessions on this show on reachability analyzer in the future, I think, and so on. So maybe there we can talk a little bit more about that. But there are a bunch of diagnostic tools that you can have to figure out where the issue is coming from.
Yeah, definitely. We have here Pratik sharing that S3 also has vector search capabilities. Absolutely. You have Athena integration with S3 and your logs directly for search capabilities, which is already mentioned there. QuickSight is a very popular solution to visualize and analyze logs and telemetry information. So yes, you have a very broad set of tools to choose from, depending on what your needs are and what your desired integrations are, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I see there are some diagnostic tools that we haven't talked a bit about at all, like Netcat, TCP dump, dig, iPerf, MTR. Oh, I see. Justin here. Is Netcat an inside or outside cat? That's a good one. Let us know in the chat if you folks are familiar with these tools. I think old timers in networking and specifically classical data center networking are very familiar with these. Perhaps sysadmins too, maybe. So let us know. Let us know if you know what these tools are doing. And what they're meant to do, and if you've ever used them. Actually, I find myself using dig a lot, or it's an alternative with NSLookup. TCP dump is super useful. Let us know if you folks are using it and what you're using it for. Victor, what was the latest one that you've used?
The latest one I've used, I'll say TCP dump. Yeah.
Nice. I see here the chat. Hiring says, "Ping is my man." Love it. But ICMP sometimes might be blocked by security groups, so it's not always always useful. I have a funny story about ping. This was the thing that got me to fall in love with networking. Actually, I was going through the CCNA 1 course training like 15 years ago, and I was like, oh man, why am I here? Why am I learning about all these things? And at the end of the session, the instructor told us, hey, ping this, ping, I think it was ping 8.8.8.8. And I did that in the terminal and I was like, oh, it works. This is amazing. So yes, I have a very, very personal relationship with ping, but I do think that perhaps curl is more useful in cloud environments where ping sometimes doesn't work because it's not a real type kind of network. It's all virtualized. I see Wireshark here. Love it. I haven't used Wireshark in a long time. I usually do TCP dumps, and I just go there and look at flags in the dump directly. So pretty cool. So I would add there actually, Victor, curl for future reference.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a popular one for sure. Yeah.
Cool stuff. Okay, so these are the tools in our toolbox, not an exhaustive list. What do we do with these tools?
Okay, so let's jump into telemetry and let's see what we can visualize. Okay, so I'll talk about metrics and logs here. So earlier when I said that our services in general provide telemetry in the form of metrics. So all of the services, they have different metrics that they provide, and you don't have to do anything for those metrics to show up on CloudWatch. They all come by default, and you can build dashboards or create alerts for these metrics. And so one of the dashboards I'm going to show today is going to have some metrics right there on the dashboard. The next thing, logs. That's another telemetry that we'll also be analyzing today in our dashboards. You can have logs for your entire VPC. You can have it on a subnet level. You can also have it on a specific network interface. So if you are not necessarily, if you're trying to reduce the amount of logs that you want to store, again, this is another, pro tip. If you are doing analysis and you don't want to keep the logs for a long time, you can just enable the flow logs for just what you want it for, whether it's the workload, ENIs, or the subnets, or it could be the whole VPC as well.
Very cool. Before we go a bit deeper into logs, there's a question here in the chat. Could someone please explain the reachability analyzer, what reachability analyzer does behind the scenes? Hold your breath for that. So we will have a future session, hopefully next week, if not in 2 weeks from now. Follow the routingloop.net website for that. We will talk about reachability analyzer and network access analyzer. Now, as you're holding on to and waiting for that session where we're going to dive a bit deeper into it, reachability analyzer actually analyzes your configuration and figures out if reachability should be possible based on that configuration. So stick around. Next episode, or in 2 episodes from now, we're going to be talking about reachability analyzer and network access analyzer and diving deeper into it. Reachability analyzer, yes, super useful. Read a bit about it if you haven't gotten the chance to do that so far. And now, Alex here, my clone on Twitch, we've posted a link to a super cool blog that talks about how you can use metrics. So the thing that Victor just mentioned about, in addition to logs, the metrics piece that you can use to catch exceptional traffic. So essentially do a bit of anomaly detection and understand what is sending traffic through your transit gateways. And you can apply the same mechanism and the same principle if you're looking at metrics generated by other of your network infrastructure components on AWS. So, and thank you so much. We also have the official link here in the chat that goes to both Twitch and YouTube. thank you all so much for joining us today. And as we dive deeper into monitoring and observability, we appreciate your questions. So please add more questions in the chat. We're here to answer any and all of them. Back to you, Victor. So flow logs.
All right. So flow logs. I have an example of what the logs looks like, and this is just like basically what the fields in a log entry looks like. So there's a lot of very helpful information in the logs that can help you to understand what IPs are talking to each other, how many bytes they're sending between themselves, how many packets, if it's a TCP traffic, if it's a UDP traffic, if your security groups or network access lists are dropping the traffic or allowing the traffic. Usually that would show up here in the action as either a reject or an accept. So there's a lot of helpful information in the logs that could help. And there are different versions of flow logs. So we keep releasing new versions as we add new fields into the logs. So if you see on my slide right there, I have some recommendations here that if you're using version 3, for example, you would see packet source address and packet destination address. And that's a helpful field if you have containers and you want to not just look at, the ENI IPs, but you want to see what's going on with the pods as well. And then there are other versions as well. So we generally would recommend that you use at least version 3 because that has more fields. But again, like our documentation, and I don't know if we have a link that we can put in the chat window, but our documentation has all the fields for the different versions of flow logs.
Yeah, and I think as we find the link to the documentation, the important part here, actually two important parts here. First, as you enable those additional logs fields, you'll see that native integration with ECS, which is so cool because it gives you the more information to correlate around what is using that IP address, right? What is the task? What is the correlated with your application? Because Victor, if you want to go back one slide, if you look at this this kind of a field, right, at the log entry, it's not necessarily extremely telling what is the actual application that's running on top of those IPs, right? Like I see traffic going between 172.31.969 and 172.31.912. Great. But what is that application? Is it a database? Is it an EC2 instance? Is it, right? So you do need to do some correlation work there. And those additional fields for ECS are super useful. That's part number 1. Part number 2, there's a super interesting comment here in the chat. Any cool examples of how people are using these things together? For example, if I see something in flow logs, could I trigger automate traffic mirroring? Have more specific solution for that and cost solution. What have you seen, Victor? Any cool ways to use these flow logs?
Yes, so you can definitely create metric filters for your logs. So if there are interesting things that you want to get alerted on, right, you can create alerts based off information in your logs. And those alarms could then trigger, like an automated action with Lambda or whatever. So that is something that's possible. But yeah, that would all depend on, what you're trying to look for.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the automations that you can now put in place building or with the help of agents that you build in Bedrock are super popular. I've seen lately so many customers who are opting into create, for example, agents that are looking at these logs, and the moment when they see, for example, between different sources and destinations across VPCs, that they have more rejects, they start digging into, and they, for example, trigger reachability analyzer to figure out if there's any configuration that is blocking that traffic and leading to those rejects. Usually security groups or NACLs. So very, very interesting ways in which you could use these. But to your point, Victor, it all matters, or it's all working backwards from what are you trying to solve for, right? Ask yourself, what are the questions you're trying to answer? And some very usual questions might be, well, I kind of want to know who talks to what in my network, right? I want to map application flows, application dependencies. Flow Logs is your friend. And not just VPC Flow Logs. Transit Gateway supports Flow Logs as well, so you can do this correlation across your network environment at scale. Now, if you want to, for example, troubleshoot things, try to understand if you just need flow logs or if you need metrics, right? As in more bytes per second, or more packets per second, or less packets per second. Deriving that anomaly detection from your metrics and seeing where flow logs can give you more data points around where that anomaly happened. So start with the questions you're trying to answer, and you're trying to find answers to, and sort of map to your dashboards. And then you have all the tools you need to get answers to those questions using the different telemetry sources and the analysis and visualization options. Oh, you want to know? Justin went to a Wireshark agent. Let's take that as an action item. Maybe we publish it.
That would be really cool. Yeah, if you can. Yeah, we should have one. I definitely use like Q CLI to do analysis of like logs and configuration data. And
now it's Kiro, right? Did you use Kiro already?
Not yet. I'm still stuck with QCLI because I love it.
Got it. Got it. I have just installed it on Monday. I've seen so many cool things that people are doing with Kiro, and I was like, okay, it's time. I don't like to code. I am a network engineer at heart because I don't like coding, but I think Kiro is making that very nice for me, and I feel like I'm hating coding less and less because of that. So if you folks haven't tried that yet, do try it out. Maybe you're gonna like coding, fall in love with coding. We'll see.
Everyone is gonna be a software developer, with Kiro.
Totally.
All right. So quickly, network firewall. Network firewall also emits metrics that sends to CloudWatch, as well as logs as well that sends to CloudWatch. And then you can build dashboards based off that. And you can also store all of this on S3 or send it to partner solutions through Data Firehose. And here's just an example of what the logs look like. So the network firewall has logs like alert logs that will tell you if a traffic gets blocked, and what got blocked, or if you're alerting on a particular kind of traffic. All of that information is in the alert logs, and that information is very useful for you to get certain insights, which I'll show on the dashboard. It also has its own flow logs, as well as TLS logs if you have any TLS errors.
Oh, that's really cool. And I think here's where super useful to see what is happening from a security perspective. And I don't think we're going to have time to talk about this today because this is a super exciting topic, but we should maybe plan for a session where we look a bit at what Guard Duty provides, Amazon Guard Duty. If you folks are not familiar with that, we're going to try to find the link and paste it in the chat. But Guard Duty helps with detection, right? So you can go into Guard Duty and you can have events in there and then go back to Firewall logs and understand the correlation between those, and then updating your Firewall rules to do that, the prevention part of your security operations playbook. So that should be a cool topic. I don't know, Victor, if you've used Guard Duty together with Firewall logs at all.
Not yet. No, I haven't.
Cool. Yeah. Well, it's a good thing for us to think about. Maybe a blog. Let us know in the chat if you folks are interested in seeing a blog on that.
That's interesting for sure. All right. So last but not the least, we finally get into visualizations and analysis. And so the first thing is that all of the logs that you send to S3, you can use Athena to query them. That's all going to be with SQL, like your regular SQL. If you are not very comfortable crafting SQL queries, I know we have samples in our documentation, but also you could use Amazon QCLI to generate SQL code or Kiro to generate SQL.
Kiro, use Kiro.
Use Kiro.
I admit that I am really bad. Like I'm worse at SQL than I am at coding in general. So I use it's so amazing to have that assistant there that is able to, I need to write a query to find out whatever top talkers to this destination.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I love it. You all should try it. It's great.
All right. And then also, if you have your logs on CloudWatch logs, you can query them using CloudWatch logs Insight. So similar to how you would use Athena to query your logs on S3, except that the CloudWatch logs Insight has its own purpose-built query language that you can use. There's a specially created language for CloudWatch logs Insight that you can use to query the logs. There's a bunch of sample queries that you will see on the console, which I'll show. And it also now has some OpenSearch integration, which I'll also show as well, which you can use SQL queries to use to query the logs. And it's all by some native integration that we have with OpenSearch.
Nice. And there's here from Daryl. Thank you for letting us know that. So the natural language optional and logs insights works well. I find yes, it's a life-saving tool that helps you. Like you have a question, you just want to ask that question. You don't want to know the SQL query behind that question, actually, and behind what you need to do to actually answer the question. So yes. 100%.
Yeah, that's the point. That's a good point. And then contributor insights helps you see top talkers. You can create rules to see the top contributors to events that are going on in your logs, and I'll show that as well. The great thing with contributor insights is that you don't have to have your own reporting engine. You don't have to use Athena and set all of that up. Once your logs are in CloudWatch, you can just directly extract the insights they are looking for from the logs.
One question here, Victor, from my side. So we're saying that you can export to CloudWatch both VPC Flow Logs and Network Firewall logs. And can we create these dashboards combining the two or correlating the two?
Yeah, so we can have dashboards that have like widgets for CloudWatch contributor insights, widgets for logs insights. You can have those widgets in the dashboard. So you can have everything you can have all of these things in a single pane of glass.
Nice. Awesome. We're going to see those today, right?
Yeah, we're going to see that. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So exciting. So exciting.
Yeah. So that's just an example CloudWatch dashboard. So you can have CloudWatch dashboards, something like this, which we're going to see. You can also have OpenSearch dashboards as well, which can help you to visualize things. We're going to see that as well. And one thing I want to say is that we also have native dashboards that you can make use of. So if you don't want to build those dashboards on CloudWatch or OpenSearch, you can make use of the native dashboards. However, if you need more information than is provided to you in the native dashboards, then it's a good idea to then build what you want and have that, in that custom dashboard. But we have some native dashboards. For example, Network Firewall has a native dashboard that we launched a few months ago.
We will have it in the chat in the next few minutes, hopefully. Link coming towards you.
Yeah, and one cool thing about Network Firewall that I love is that if you want to see all of the domains that you've accessed through the firewall, you can actually generate a domain report, and it's going to summarize and tell you these are all the domains that you've accessed. It's going to tell you how many times you try to access them. And if you want to block any of those domains, you can just go block them in Network Firewall. That's the cool visibility feature that I like about the firewall.
Awesome. I think here, before we go a bit further, I think this goes really nicely hand in hand with Route 53 resolver query logs and DNS firewall, because it's if you have Route 53 resolver firewall enabled, DNS firewall enabled, then you can filter your queries from the VPC. And then with logging, you're logging all the queries that are going through your resolver, right? And you can see how those are filtered and allowed, and what their status is from the DNS firewall perspective. And if you ingest all of that information in the dashboard, you can also create that correlation of there was a DNS resolution by this client, and then this client sent the traffic, the actual traffic through the firewall, and the firewall shows you in logs those domain names. And here's why this is important. So many customers are asking us when we're talking about DNS firewall, they're like, okay, but what if DNS resolution is bypassed, right? So these are two tools that work together, because if the client somehow finds out the IP address of the destination, right, you want to be able to filter that traffic, right? You don't want to just say, oh, if DNS resolution doesn't happen, I'm secure. Two tools that should work hand in hand, and should be implemented and should be monitored and visualized in correlation. So you folks should look at DNS query logging and DNS firewall as well. I think it's an important tool. Maybe we should add it to this presentation as well, Victor.
Yeah. Okay. So we got about 18 minutes left. So let's look at what we have, the dashboards that we have.
Excellent.
All right.
I will ask you to jump a bit into zoom in so that we can see it.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me about that. All right, is this good? It's good?
It's maybe a bit more, one more.
Okay, all right, let's see.
Oh, if you can do Command plus, if you have a Mac, you can zoom in using that. Yeah, okay. Perfect. Awesome.
All right, so I'm gonna start off with VPC. And I was mentioning earlier that CloudWatch has this native integration with OpenSearch, and that native integration is for is to give you some default dashboards that we have for VPC Flow Logs, CloudTrail logs, as well as WAF logs. So for today, I just I'm basically showing the native dashboard for VPC Flow Logs, and I set up just specially for the routing loop. So this is for you, Alex. A special
nice
routing loop.
Love it. You got to teach me how I can do this, or I'm going to go ask Hero how to do it.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I have this nice OpenSearch dashboard for my logs. As you can see here, I can filter. Let's say, for example, I'm trying to see how much traffic a particular EC2 instance or IP address has been transferring. I can go select the IP address. I'm just going to select this one. I can filter for that. I can see I want to filter for just TCP traffic, which should be protocol 6. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So you gotta know your protocol numbers. Good one.
As well as if I knew the destination I was sending traffic to, I can select that as well. But already you can see that I'm able to filter for just that IP. I can see the flows, total number of flows. I can see the top talkers. I can see total number of megabytes that was transferred. I can see by IP address who it's talking to. I can see by bytes, so how many bytes is being sent to all of these different IP addresses. I can see top talkers by packets. Let me just zoom in there. So I can see top talkers by packets. So I can see a bunch of stuff, top destinations as well that I'm sending traffic to. So I can see, for example, here by bytes that I'm sending like 20% of my traffic is going to this public IP address, 98 dots. So 10 this private IP address 10.0.3.152. So I can see that kind of information here. And I can drill down if I want to drill down. So this is just the native dashboard for VPC Flow Logs.
One question here, probably that's in the minds of everyone who's looking at this and listening to us. Can we enrich these logs with some sort of tags for the instances or ENIs that they are associated with to make sense of those IP addresses? Because I feel like sure, those IPs don't mean anything for anyone. Mostly, like you would have to go back and try to correlate that with what ENI that IP is on and to what instance that ENI belongs to, or what I don't know, EKS worker node or Lambda function.
Yeah, I actually wish, because I there's a blog that I think I contributed to a few months ago. I wish I had thought about that question. I could have demoed that for today's session. But
so you can do it. You can do it.
Yeah, but to answer your question, so you can enrich the logs with additional information, because to your point, these are IP addresses, and that's because that's what's in the flow logs by default. So the flow logs currently doesn't have tags by default. So you could actually enrich that by just having some additional automation to fetch that information and add it to the log entries. There's a blog that's out there that I don't know if we can fetch that and put it.
Yes, we have it in the chat. We're going to post it in a second here. Thank you so much for the folks, our hero here behind the scenes, who's helping us with all the links in the chat. Many thanks, and many thanks to all of you for sticking around with us. We have around 13 minutes left of the session, so we looked at flow logs. We're now looking at the default flow logs dashboard in CloudWatch using OpenSearch. What else do we have on the menu for today, Victor?
All right, let's move to network firewall.
Nice.
So here is.
Can you do a command? Can you do a command plus? Maybe two command pluses to get it a bit more zoomed in.
Yeah. All right. So before I just show us that, I want to just quickly show that network firewall also has a custom dashboard. Sorry, native dashboard by default. So if you went to VPC network firewalls and then firewalls, and you went to monitoring and observability for your firewall, if you enable something called detailed monitoring, you would see some useful information here, like metrics on packets received, stateful dropped, rejected packets, and you can see some top token information. If I was just going to select 10 minutes here real quick, you can see some top token information for IPs talking to each other based on the total number of bytes. You can see dropped packets. You can see host headers, top alerted host headers, top dropped host headers. So for this, I actually have some EC2 instances sending random traffic to this domain, and it's all being blocked to my firewall, neverssl.com. So always use, so all that is being dropped, and you can see that being reported here. So this is the native, but you may want more information than this, which is why I said that then it makes sense for you to have your own custom dashboards that you can then have all the visuals you want integrated into that dashboard. So what does that look like?
While you're navigating there's a comment here from Ron Plays Things. I had a lot of trouble trying to find what EKS pods were utilizing NAT gateways, could only trace to the ENI. Please do have a look at our session from last week. The link is somewhere here in the chat, and if you don't find it, it's on the routingloop.net in previous episodes. The team was talking about CloudWatch Network Flow Monitor. Super useful tool to understand. It natively integrates with EKS, and it helps you understand from your worker nodes perspective through that agent to what your worker nodes are talking to, or to what your pods are talking to, sorry, and get those insights. Because if they're talking, for example, to public destinations, they will be using the NAT gateway. So have a look at that episode, double click on CloudWatch Network Flow Monitor, and hopefully that helps you answer these questions.
Okay, so let's move on to the Firewall dashboard. So this is a custom dashboard.
Nice.
And it has a bunch of widgets in here. Some of them are just displaying metrics from CloudWatch. Some of them are displaying widgets that represent information that provides insights into logs. And there's also one AI widget here as well. So just to quickly run through this. So this is a widget that's looking at different metrics for my firewall endpoint ENI. So that's all this is. I'll just quickly edit it here. So this is basically like I said, this is the metrics that I added to this. And so this is just a widget that is searching for the endpoints.
You can zoom in a bit.
All right, yeah. Thanks for reminding me, Alex.
All good.
So it's searching for the endpoints in this two different subnets. So it gets that and then displays it here. And then you can add it to your dashboard. Right.
Nice. And the cool part of this is actually, like, we're showing this just as an example of what you folks can do, but there's so many cool things that you can do with math logic in CloudWatch. So have a look at that. 55 minutes is definitely not enough for us to dive into all of the very cool things that you can do with this. And I really want us to get a bit of time, Victor, to talk about the AI-powered troubleshooting piece.
Yeah. All right. So before I get there, I want to show two things. So I want to show that you can add contributor insights to this dashboard. So this is just an example of a Top Talkers widget that I have here. I'm just going to edit this widget to what happened. Let me find it back. All right. So I'm just going to edit this widget to show. Yeah. So I'm going to view the rule. So basically, this is a contributor insights rule that is giving me the top source IP addresses by packets, by total number of packets for those IP addresses. Here's what the rule looks like. I'm basically having this IP address from my firewall log field, and I'm summing up, as you can see, I'm summing up the total number of packets. And so we just, I'm able to get that ranking that you saw in that previous page. So
nice.
That's the second thing. The third thing is logs insights. So that's another a couple of the widgets that I have here is basically getting insights from the logs. So here is an example of a widget that is looking at my network firewall rules to see which of those rules is dropping the most traffic or is blocking the most traffic.
Oh, right? This is so cool. This is so cool. Yeah.
So I can just go view this in CloudWatch Logs Insights. Yeah, so this is what the query looks like. And so you can, if you have the query, again, you can generate this either by yourself or using Kiro or Q.
Zoom in, please. So we can see it.
Yeah, cool. Hold on. Let me quickly do that. All right.
Okay, perfect.
So this is just a query that's looking at this and looking at the logs to see which ones have a blocked action. So based off the SID that would identify the rules, it can tell us which of them has the blocked actions and can give us that count. And so if I run this, I'll get some analysis, and you can add this to any dashboard that you want. So this is just where you would add it to your own dashboard. You can just go add it here.
Cool stuff.
Yeah.
There's a question here from Daryl. Would you be able to share some of these custom dashboards? We do have instructions to set all of these things up in our network firewall workshop, right?
Yeah, we do have it in our workshop.
Excellent.
I think we have
Excellent.
a link here.
So we're going to put we've already put the link in the chat with the workshop. You folks can run the workshop in self-paced mode. So you can run it in your own account, and you're going to get instructions there on how you can set all of these things in your account. And also keep in mind that you can edit them. These are custom dashboards. You can add widgets to them. You can edit existing widgets to make sure you get your questions answered.
Okay. And the last but not the least is that you can also have custom widgets in your CloudWatch dashboard. So here is a custom widget. And the nice thing with the custom widgets is that like what I have here is I have a Lambda function that is going to get some information for me from Bedrock, and it's displaying that information in this widget. So it can actually go do some analysis and return back that into the custom widget that I have here. And so you can display whatever you want in a custom widget to help you with your analysis. So I'm just going to edit this widget to show you what is going on here. But as you can see already, this is like a summary of the logs that I have in my firewall. And I'm already getting some useful insights here. So for example, I intentionally only configured this firewall in 1EZ. Now don't do that. That is bad.
Nice. Don't do that. Don't do that. Use multi-AZ deployments, because as Werner mentioned in our quote at the beginning, everything fails all the time. So having resilient architectures is very, very important.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I intentionally did that, but I can already get that insight here that, hey, like this is what you're doing. So I can go fix that. Well, what am I doing behind the scenes? I'm just gonna edit this widget here. So I have this Lambda function that's basically behind the scenes is talking to Bedrock. It's using Amazon Nova Micro to do this analysis. So it gives me a summary.
Oh, very cool.
It has these parameters here that I can use to customize the Lambda function that is doing the query. So I can actually come here and maybe ask a question. So I can be like, who owns the public IP addresses and the logs? I'm just gonna update this.
I'll do a bit of an outro while this is loading. Oh, this is really cool. Oh, yeah. Love it. It worked.
It worked. So nice. It's talking to a lot of AWS services, as you can see, Amazon services. So it gives me the IP addresses and tell me the assets.
Oh, this is amazing.
So
amazing.
You can build custom widgets as well into your dashboards. That's pretty much it.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you, Victor. We are like 50 seconds from finishing our stream. Thank you all for having joined us today. Have a look at the episode last week. Have a look at this episode if you've missed it. They're all on the routingloop.net. Looking forward to meeting you next week. We're continuing our observability series. We're going to post on our website what the next episode is going to be all about. And if you folks have questions, please do reach out to us on LinkedIn, on Twitch, on YouTube, anywhere you are comfortable. And yeah, thank you so much for your time, and have an awesome rest of the week.